Somewhere between your last notification and this very sentence, you already lost focus. You didn't mean to. Maybe your phone lit up. Maybe your mind drifted towards something else for just a second. It's okay, you're not alone. Because right now, as you listen, millions of others are doing the same thing. Try and pay attention, but quietly losing the battle. There's a strange kind of silence in the modern world. It's not the kind that feels peaceful. It's the kind that hums behind every vibration, every alert, every ping. We live in a time where stillness feels uncomfortable, almost threatening. You might even feel it now, that small urge to switch tabs, to check something, to do anything but stay here. I'll just check my phone for a second. You whisper to yourself, promising to come back. But you never really do you? Look around. In cafes, people stare at screens while conversations fade into background noise. In parks, children's laughter competes with adults scrolling endlessly through timelines. In homes, dinner tables glow with blue light instead of conversation. We've forgotten how to be where we are. The world has become a place where attention is currency, and everyone is broke. But what if this wasn't a fault? What if your inability to focus wasn't weakness, but design? Think about it. Every swipe, every notification, every autoplay next video, all carefully crafted to pull you back in. Technology doesn't ask for your time. It steals it in fragments, so small you don't even notice until you've lost an hour, a day, a life. The system isn't broken. It's built this way. There was a time when attention was natural, when silence wasn't something to escape from. Our ancestors spent hours watching the horizon, listening to wind, to water, to their own thoughts. Now, most of us can't last 5 seconds without stimulation. It's not that our brains got weaker. It's that they got hijacked. So here's the test. Don't scroll. Don't move. Don't click away. Just 1 minute. 60 seconds of stillness. No sounds. No messages. Just you and your thoughts. Ready? The screen stays still. The world goes quiet. A soft ticking clock begins to echo. Tick, tock, tick. At first, it feels easy. Simple. You can handle this. But then the noise starts, not outside, but inside. Thoughts pushing like uninvited guests. Did I get that email? What if someone texted? I should check the time. You breathe, trying to stay still. The seconds stretch longer, heavier. You glance just for a moment, but it's too late. The silence is broken. This isn't failure. It's revelation. You've just experienced how fragile modern focus really is. It slips like water through your fingers, no matter how tightly you try to hold it. And yet, something deep inside you wants it back, that lost ability to be present, to stay with one thing without needing escape. Imagine for a moment if we could reclaim it, the power to choose what deserves our attention, to look at a sunset without recording it, to talk to someone without checking who else messaged, to read a sentence and not lose the thread halfway through. Somewhere in the constant flood of noise, we lost the art of noticing. The experiment isn't about silence. It's about truth. You didn't fail because you looked away. You succeeded because, for a moment, you noticed that you wanted to. That awareness, that instant of resistance, is a first step back toward control. So, ask yourself, when was the last time you were fully here? Not half present. Not divided between tabs and timelines, but completely absorbed in something real? The world forgot how to focus. But maybe you don't have to. Maybe this is the moment you remember what stillness feels like. The weight of quiet, the pulse of your own breathing, the feeling of being alive without distraction. If 1 minute feels impossible, what have we done to our minds? Your brain wasn't built for endless scrolling. It was hacked for it. What feels like a casual habit, a harmless way to pass the time, is actually the result of one of the most sophisticated psychological systems ever engineered. Behind every flick of your thumb, behind every new post, notification, and autoplay video, there's a formula, one that understands your brain better than you do. Dr. Miller leans forward in a dimly lit lab, the glow of screens reflecting in his glasses. It's not addiction by chance, he says. It's addiction by design. His words hang in the air, quiet but heavy, because deep down we already know he's right. We've felt it, that subtle pull, the invisible thread that tugs at us to check, to scroll, to refresh. But we never stop to ask why. The answer lies inside the chemistry of your brain, a molecule called dopamine. It's the currency of reward, the spark that makes you feel good when you eat, laugh, or accomplish something meaningful. But in the digital age, dopamine has been hijacked. Your apps, your notifications, your feeds, they're all competing to trigger it faster, cheaper, and more often than real life ever could. Every ping is a promise. Every swipe, a gamble. And that's exactly the point. The human brain is wired to seek unpredictability. In the 1950s, researchers discovered that rats press levers far more often when rewards came at random intervals. Uncertainty became the addiction. The same principle now lives inside your favorite apps, variable rewards. You scroll because maybe the next post will be funny. Maybe the next video will surprise you. Maybe this time you'll feel that hit of validation. Every swipe is a coin toss your brain can't resist. Dr. Miller continues, almost whispering, they don't just measure engagement, they measure your anticipation. That's the key. It's not the moment of pleasure that keeps you hooked. It's the chase, the waiting, the tiny spike of excitement before you see what's next. You're not scrolling for content. You're scrolling for hope. And as your brain chases that high, the cost begins to show. The more dopamine you trigger artificially, the less sensitive your receptors become. Suddenly, real life feels dull. A walk in the park doesn't light up your brain like a notification does. A conversation without your phone feels empty. You start needing more stimulation, more speed, more noise, just to feel something. It's not your fault. You were never told this would happen. Nobody said that the devices built to connect us would quietly rewire us. But they did. Each moment of distraction trains your brain to expect instant reward. And when it doesn't come, you feel anxious, restless. You open another app, and the loop begins again. Dopamine doesn't ask for your permission. It whispers promises into your nervous system. Just one more check, one more scroll, one more clip. And before you realize it, your focus has been fragmented into 1,000 pieces. You're not bored. You're overstimulated. Imagine your brain as a slot machine. Every time you pull the lever, scroll the feed, refresh the page, you're waiting for the jackpot. Sometimes it pays off, a funny meme, a like, a message. Sometimes it doesn't. But that unpredictability keeps you coming back. The system doesn't want satisfaction. It wants repetition. Dr. Miller stands in silence, staring at the screens filled with data. Millions of touch points, notifications, reactions. We used to study how humans think, he says. Now the algorithms think for them. That's the hidden truth of modern distraction. The science isn't evil by itself, but in the wrong hands, it becomes a weapon. Attention is the new oil, and you are the mine. The more distracted you are, the more valuable you become. There's something haunting about realizing how much of your life has been engineered for someone else's profit. But awareness, that's the first spark of control. Knowing that the craving isn't you, but the chemical storm inside you, that's power. So the next time your hand reaches for the phone, without thinking, pause. Feel the impulse. Recognize it for what it is, a perfectly programmed reflex. You can't fight a system you don't understand. But now, you do. And if the system can train your brain to crave noise, maybe you can retrain it to crave silence. Because once you see the strings, it's harder to keep dancing. Addiction doesn't always smell like smoke or taste like alcohol. Sometimes it hides behind a glowing screen, disguised as harmless routine. You don't see it coming. You don't even call it by its name. You just reach for your phone, thinking, just one more scroll. That's how it always starts. A minute to unwind, a break between tasks, a harmless peek at what's new. The thumb moves almost on instinct now. Flick, refresh, flick again. And suddenly, the world outside the screen fades into the background. Time doesn't feel linear anymore, it just slips. I'll just check my feed before I sleep, I tell myself. But the feed has no end. The content keeps stretching, infinite, like an ocean designed to drown attention. I scroll, I laugh at something, feel nothing, then scroll again. And when I finally glance at the clock, an hour is gone. No memory, no meaning, just digital dust. It's strange how addiction can be so invisible when it doesn't come with pain or smell or social stigma. You don't wake up hungover or shamed. You just wake up tired, scattered, foggy. The addiction hides behind productivity, behind connection, behind I'm just checking something important. It wears 1,000 disguises. Look around any cafe, bus, or living room, and you'll see the same quiet ritual repeating. A student sits at a desk, textbook open but untouched, eyes flickering between reels. A worker on lunch break scrolls through news that won't matter tomorrow. A parent at dinner checks their phone under the table, half listening to their child's story. Nobody calls it addiction. It's just how things are. But deep down, there's a hollow ache that grows louder each time we reach for that glowing rectangle. Because the truth is, we're not using it. It's using us. The apps have learned our rhythms better than we know ourselves. They know the moment boredom creeps in, the second loneliness whispers, the instant discomfort starts. And right then, they offer relief, the illusion of control. I used to believe I was immune, that I could handle it. But the moment I started counting how many times I picked up my phone each day, I realized I wasn't in charge. Each tap, each swipe, each refresh, it was muscle memory now. Habit disguised as choice. Comfort disguised as control. The turning point came one night when I caught my reflection in the dark phone screen. My face dimly lit by endless scrolling, blank, expressionless, almost robotic. I wasn't even enjoying it anymore. I was just doing it, out of habit, out of need, out of emptiness. That's when it hit me. Time wasn't being wasted. It was being stolen. Quietly, efficiently. There's no moment of explosion, no dramatic collapse like other addictions. Just a slow erosion of attention. The tiny theft of minutes that should have been memories. You forget what you were supposed to do, who you want to become, what peace you used to feel like. And yet, it's hard to blame ourselves. The trap was built beautifully. It rewards you just enough to stay hooked, just enough to feel in control. You're never forced, you're invited. Every notification whispers, you're missing something. Every algorithm tailors itself to your weakness. And in return, it asks only for one thing, your time. When I finally put the phone down, the silence felt foreign. My mind twitched like it was still scrolling, still searching for something new. That's when I realized this wasn't entertainment anymore. It was escape. From boredom, from silence, from myself. And maybe that's the hardest truth to face, that addiction doesn't always live in chaos. Sometimes it lives in comfort, in the familiar rhythm of tapping and swiping, in the small, invisible choices that quietly shape who we are. So, if distraction feels normal, maybe we've mistaken slavery for freedom. Now we test the truth. Take a breath. Don't scroll. Don't look away. Just stay here, eyes still, mind quiet, 60 seconds. That's all. No background music, no notifications, no escape. Just you and the ticking clock. The room feels different now. You notice the faint hum of the air, the pulse in your fingertips, the whisper of thoughts trying to break in. Focus, focus, just breathe. You tell yourself it's easy, 1 minute of silence. But already, your mind begins to wander. You think about a message you forgot to reply to, the unfinished task, the sound outside. You wonder how much time has passed. 10 seconds? Maybe 20? Your hand twitches toward the screen, instinctively, like a muscle that refuses to stay still. The silence is heavier than you expected. It presses down. It itches. You remind yourself, don't move. Don't check. Stay here. The seconds stretch like hours. The stillness starts to feel unnatural, almost wrong. It's strange how something so simple, doing nothing, feels so impossible. And somewhere in that discomfort, the truth begins to surface. You are no longer the master of your attention. You are its prisoner. Tick, tick. The sound of time becomes unbearable now, each second dragging you through your own restlessness. You start thinking about what's next, what's waiting, what you're missing. The need to do something grows louder. That tiny voice in your head whispers, just check the time. It's not cheating. But you resist. For a few more seconds, you try to anchor yourself to your breath, to the present, to the silence. And then you look away. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was relief. But the moment your eyes break contact, you realize you failed. Most people do, because this isn't just about time. It's about control, about how fragile your attention has become. Think about it. You can binge hours of meaningless content, but 60 seconds of presence feels unbearable. You can scroll endlessly, but not sit quietly with your own thoughts. Somewhere in the endless chase for stimulation, you lost the muscle of stillness. You were trained to react, not to reflect. Conditioned to seek, not to sit. And that conditioning didn't happen by accident. It was designed. Each vibration, each ping, each red notification was another thread pulling at your focus, teaching your brain to crave interruption. Now you understand why the experiment was never about passing or failing. It was about seeing. Seeing how the mind squirms when the noise fades, how the silence reveals a truth we spend all day avoiding. We are terrified of being alone with ourselves. For a brief moment, you try again. You close your eyes. The world goes dim. No feed, no sound, no movement, just awareness. But even in that stillness, the echoes of habit remain. The brain scans for something new, something to hold on to. Focus, just breathe. It's harder than it should be, isn't it? When the minute finally ends, it feels longer than any video you've ever watched. You survived it, but not without realizing something profound. Attention isn't just a skill, it's a form of power. And somewhere along the way, you gave it away. The experiment is over, but the truth it revealed isn't. You've seen your own restlessness, your own craving, your own dependency. You've seen how silence exposes what noise hides. Now that you've failed the test, what comes next matters most. Every second you lose to distraction has a price. And it's not time. It's something far quieter, far heavier. It's the look in your child's eyes when they realize you weren't really listening. It's the idea that flickered in your mind, bright, alive, before being drowned out by the vibration of a phone. It's the laughter you didn't fully hear, the meal you didn't really taste, the moment you never truly lived. He sits at the dinner table, phone glowing against his face. His daughter tugs gently at his sleeve. "Dad, did you see my drawing?" she asks. He nods absently, eyes still fixed on the endless scroll. She lowers the paper, small smile fading. Across the room, a clock ticks. Another moment gone, unnoticed, unremembered. It's a scene that repeats itself across millions of homes. A mother lost in her notifications while her toddler builds a tower nearby. A friend half listening over coffee, mind wandering to what might be trending online. A lover staring past their partner's face, the glow of another screen reflecting in their eyes. Nobody means harm, yet the result is the same, a slow erosion of presence, one glance at a time. Somewhere in that cycle, something sacred is being stolen. Focus isn't just attention, it's connection. When you lose it, you don't just waste minutes, you lose depth. You lose the ability to truly see the world, to hear the silence between words, to feel the weight of a single thought. You start to live in fragments, pieces of moments, slices of reality, never whole, never grounded. In the office, a worker stares at the blinking cursor. He was inspired once, ideas flowing like electricity. But now, he can't hold a thought for more than a few seconds before his mind drifts. A notification lights up, and that fragile spark of creativity evaporates. "I'll get back to it," he whispers, closing the tab. He never does. Across town, an artist sits before a blank canvas. She scrolls through other people's creations, hoping to feel inspired. But the more she looks, the more she feels hollow. Her brush stays dry. The muse that once visited her freely now feels distant, drowned beneath a sea of noise she willingly invited in. We talk about productivity like it's a metric, but in truth, it's intimacy with our work, with our people, with ourselves. Every interruption cuts that intimacy in half. We trade meaning for motion, connection for stimulation. We become spectators of our own lives, always present but never fully there. Somewhere, a friend waits for a reply that never comes. A mother wonders when her child stopped looking her in the eyes. A lover scrolls through photos of strangers while the person who once made them whole sits right beside them. It's not evil. It's emptiness. A quiet, invisible addiction that doesn't take your life. Just a life inside your moments. And yet, for all its subtlety, the cost keeps rising. Scientists call it attention residue, the mental echo left behind when your focus fragments. You may move on, but your mind lingers elsewhere, leaving you scattered, numb, tired in ways sleep can't fix. You begin to forget what deep thinking feels like, what stillness sounds like, what it means to be truly here. There's a montage, lives unfolding in silence. The parent scrolling while a child grows older. The writer who never finishes a story. The couple who forgets what it felt like to dream together. 1,000 small heartbreaks happening every day, invisible yet universal. The tragedy isn't that we don't care. It's that we don't notice. The world keeps spinning faster, promising us everything at once. Information, entertainment, connection, yet giving us nothing whole. We're flooded with fragments of other people's lives, while ours quietly slip by unrecorded. We've mistaken the glow of the screen for the warmth of presence. But here's the truth the silence whispers back. The cost is impermanent. Because if focus can be lost, maybe it can also be reclaimed. The mind that wanders can also return home. It's been lost in noise for so long that silence feels foreign, but not unreachable. The path back doesn't begin with force or guilt or some grand act of discipline. It begins with awareness. The simple noticing of what's happening within you right now. You pick up your phone without thinking. You open a new tab without reason. You check a message you already read. And then, in a flicker of clarity, you see yourself doing it, really see it. That moment of awareness is a seed of freedom, because you cannot reclaim what you don't notice has been taken. Notice the urge and let it pass. A voice whispers, gentle and patient. This isn't about resistance. It's about recognition. The mind's restlessness isn't the enemy. It's a symptom, proof that your attention has been starved of stillness. Like a muscle unused, it trembles when asked to hold still. But with every moment of awareness, it grows stronger. Across the world, there are people who live differently. Monks in quiet temples who spend hours watching the rise and fall of their breath. Athletes who find complete presence in motion. Their bodies and minds merge into a single rhythm. Artists who disappear into their works so deeply that time dissolves. What unites them isn't talent, it's focus. The ability to stay fully where they are. They too feel distraction tugging at them. The difference is they've learned to observe it instead of obey it, to watch the flicker of craving and breathe through it. That is a hidden art of attention, not the absence of thought, but the mastery of return. Every time you drift and bring yourself back, you reclaim a piece of your mind. You don't need to disappear into mountains or delete every app. You just need to begin with one quiet minute. Sit still. Feel the air move in and out of your lungs. Notice the sounds around you. The hum of life continuing without your control. The itch to check something will come. Don't fight it. Don't follow it. Just watch it. The urge will fade, like a wave that rises and dissolves on its own. This is mindfulness, not a trend, but a homecoming. A remembering that you were never meant to live fragmented. When you are truly present, the world changes texture. Sound becomes sharper, colors deeper, time slower. The smallest details, sunlight on your skin, the rhythm of footsteps, the heartbeat beneath your palm, remind you that existence itself was always enough. For those who chase productivity, focus is the new currency. For those who seek peace, it is the doorway, because focus is more than mental clarity. It's emotional presence. When you give something your full attention, you give it life, a conversation, a task, a moment of rest. Everything becomes richer when you stop dividing yourself across 1,000 distractions. Stillness isn't empty, it's full. It's where the noise fades enough for wisdom to be heard. It's where creativity wakes up, where intuition whispers again. The more you practice, the more control returns. The mind that once scattered like glass begins to gather like light, concentrated and whole. At first, it will feel strange. You'll reach for your phone, open your browser, tap your screen, and then stop mid-motion. That pause is everything. That's awareness catching the habit in its act. And each pause builds strength, one moment at a time. So start small. One mindful breath before you touch your phone. One full minute of attention while listening to someone you love. One task done with complete focus. That's how you rebuild the muscle of presence, not in leaps, but in quiet, consistent returns. The mind that wanders isn't broken. It's just searching for something real. And when it finally finds its way back to stillness, it remembers what it always knew. Peace doesn't come from avoiding distraction. It comes from mastering your response to it. If you can control one moment of attention, you can control your life. The world won't get quieter. You must get stronger. The noise isn't going away. It's multiplying. Every sound, every vibration, every flash of a screen is another knock at the door of your attention. And each time you have a choice, open the door or stay still. It starts the moment you wake up. The phone lights up, messages, updates, reminders, dopamine waiting at your fingertips. You feel the pull, the whisper, just check it. But something inside you resists this time. A small, quiet defiance. Not now. I'm focused. The words feel strange, like armor being fitted for the first time. The fight against the noise isn't loud. It's silent, internal, invisible. Nobody claps when you ignore your phone. Nobody notices when you sit through the itch of distraction. But every time you do, you take back a fraction of your freedom. It's the discipline no one sees, the kind that rebuilds what the digital world has tried to dismantle. Not now. I'm focused. You whispered again. A mantra, a boundary. The world around you, though, doesn't stop. Advertisers, platforms, creators, all fighting for a piece of your attention. They study your habits, your pauses, your clicks. Algorithms become cartographers of your mind, mapping every impulse, predicting every craving. You are the battlefield and the prize. But something changes when you see the game for what it is. Awareness becomes resistance. You begin to question, what if I choose differently? The moment you ask that question, you shift from victim to participant. The system may know your patterns, but it doesn't own your choices. You start to notice the noise, not as chaos, but as a challenge. Each ping becomes a test. Each scroll, a decision. Focus is no longer something you lost. It's something you fight for. And with every battle you win, your strength grows. The world will still shout. It will tempt, distract, seduce with speed and novelty. But somewhere inside, a different rhythm begins to emerge. Slower, deliberate, alive. You start walking through the noise instead of drowning in it. Notifications flare and fade. Voices call and echo, yet you keep moving forward, one steady step after another. The metaphor unfolds like a scene in a film. A lone figure walking through a storm of sound. Around them, words, videos, alerts swirl like wind. Hands reach out from glowing screens, grabbing, pulling. But the figure doesn't stop. They breathe, center, focus, eyes set on something ahead. The farther they walk, the quieter it gets. Not because the world is silent, but because they've tuned out what no longer matters. In that silence, something returns. Strength, clarity, purpose. The kind of presence that can't be bought or downloaded. The kind you build moment by moment through conscious defiance. The mentors appear not as people, but as echoes, unseen voices of wisdom carried through time. A monk's calm whisper, a writer's steady breath, an athlete's relentless focus. They guide you, not by instruction, but by example. They've all walked through their own noise and found the same truth waiting at the end. Control doesn't mean silence. It means awareness. You learn to move differently, to create before you consume, to listen before you react, to breathe before you respond. The mind that once bent to every impulse now holds its ground. You're not fighting distraction anymore. You're mastering it. The energy rises. Each decision to stay present becomes momentum. Each breath of focus becomes a declaration. The world hasn't changed. You have. The noise no longer defines you. It tests you. And each test you notice is a chance to win. The real victory, though, isn't in silencing the world. It's in hearing it all and still choosing where your attention belongs. Because in the end, awareness is freedom. But the real victory isn't winning, it's noticing. We began with 1 minute. We end with one breath. It was never about time. It was always about attention, the invisible thread that connects you to life itself. Every thought, every moment, every heartbeat you've lived through in this journey has led to this single breath. The world hasn't changed. The noise still hums outside your window. Notifications still flicker in the dark. But something inside you is quieter now, not empty, but aware. You no longer chase silence. You become it. Focus was never lost. It was only forgotten, buried under the weight of speed, noise, and 1,000 open tabs of the mind. What you've been searching for has been here all along. The ability to return, to begin again, to notice. You close your eyes. One breath in, one breath out. And for the first time, the moment feels complete. The monk's wisdom echoes softly. Notice the urge, then let it pass. The athlete's voice returns. Discipline is devotion to the present. The artist smiles in memory. Stillness is where creation begins. They're not characters anymore. They're reflections of you, pieces of focus that have always lived within, waiting for you to remember. You recall the first time you tried the 1-minute challenge, the restless seconds, the noise creeping in, the battle between stillness and habit. You thought you failed then, but that moment wasn't failure. It was the first spark of awareness, the first time you saw the noise instead of drowning in it. Now you try again. 60 seconds. Eyes closed, breath steady. The seconds no longer stretch. They dissolve. The urge to move, to check, to scroll still whispers, but you smile. You see it. You breathe through it. The storm that once ruled your attention now drifts like clouds across a calm sky. In that stillness, you realize something profound. Distraction is human, but awareness is divine. The mind may wander, but the soul always knows the way home. You are no longer fighting the noise. You are listening beyond it. You are no longer running from distraction. You are learning from it. Every impulse becomes a teacher. Every pause a doorway back to yourself. The cinematic vision widens. Scenes from the past unfold. The glowing screens, the chaos, the choices, the small victories. Each one fades into light. The world remains fast, restless, demanding, but you stand still unshaken. You've learned that focus isn't a wall you build against the world. It's a bridge between your mind and the moment, between thought and awareness, between you and what truly matters. And so, the story doesn't end here. It returns. Every time you take a conscious breath, the camera lingers on your face, calm, grounded, present. The seconds slip away quietly, like waves retreating from shore. The silence isn't empty now. It's full of presence, of peace, of life. You open your eyes. The world is exactly the same, but you are not. A final whisper fills the air. You're still here. That's focus. The screen fades to black. Soft music rises. If this story changed the way you see your mind, subscribe and take back your focus 1 minute at a time.